Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Greetings, race fans, and welcome to Apex Racing TV's presentation of the Radical Esports Cup. J.R. Gregory here with you on the call. Beside me, my partner, Aaron Smith, and in the production facility, our good friend and colleague, Joshua Wilkie. And the star of today's show, the fantastic Radical SR10, one of the purest sports car experiences in iRacing, propelled by a 450 horsepower Ford EcoBoost four-cylinder turbo, tipping the scales at a full 1,000 pounds lighter than an MX-5 Cup car. And with no traction control, no anti-lock brakes, the SR10 can be a handful, but mastering this car will make you better at every car that you drive. And folks, we are showing the top split of the public server here, 2100 GMT Friday, as we do every week. So this is not a private event, not a league event. And if you'd like to give these radicals a whirl and appear here with us on Apex Racing TV, go ahead, sign up, get some practice time in, and if you make the top split, you will appear here on YouTube with some of the best radical drivers in the world. And our upcoming schedule is fantastic. Next week, VIR, that's had a star on my calendar all season, Road America, Sebring, and Interlagos. But this week, 2024 Season 4, Week 9, brings us to Watkins Glen. The village of Watkins Glen is located at the southern tip of Seneca Lake in upstate New York. First races around here were on public roads in 1948, permanent circuit opening in 1956. And in the subsequent almost 70 years, the Glen has played host to Formula One, IMSA, NASCAR, IndyCar, and Trans Am Racing, among many others. Today's configuration, 3.4 miles, 5.5 clicks, 11 corners. And the record for this configuration, as you might imagine, is set by a DW12 IndyCar a couple years ago. Sebastian Bourdais throwing down a 1:23.9. And for you IMSA fans out there, our LMDH prototypes are currently lapping about 10 seconds off of that IndyCar pace. So, Aaron, looking forward to some good stuff here at Watkins Glen. I think the draft is going to play a role. I'm looking for drivers facing some difficult conditions. It's always tough, that 9, 10, 11 combination, turn 9 coming up out of the boot with that drastic change in camber as the boot joins the old circuit and almost a little jump there. So, I think we're going to see some good action here at the Glen today.
Well, judging by what we all saw in the ESR GT3 Championship yesterday, this could be a chaotic one, as we went into yesterday's race kind of thinking, oh, this should be some fairly light-hearted racing. It's Watkins Glen, it's a slipstream fest, but then we all forgot about the dreaded bus stop chicane and just how killable that part of the track is. I think we saw about 10 drivers in each race all make the exact same mistake of taking that exit curb way too aggressively. And if a GT3 car can't handle a curb, it's a pretty intense curb. And these cars, famously, don't like curbs. So this should be a fantastic watch as we watch probably about half of the grid in the first lap to do the exact same thing. On lap 1, big pile up. I think Josh has said yesterday in me and Ron's ear that most of the pileups that I've ever seen in iRacing have been at this track. And I very much agree with that. It's just, there's something about this track. It's either from turn 1 all the way up to turn 4, just after the bus stop chicane, or about just after turn 6. It always just happens at those areas. And I don't know why. There's just something mysterious about this track that just causes drivers to lose brain cells. Will it happen again today? Probably. But these cars are just a tiny bit quicker than GT3s, ever so slightly high speed. But the slipstream is a lot more powerful in these cars. So hopefully we should get some really, really close racing pretty much all the way until the end.
Yeah, too right, Aaron. And yeah, that your comments there bring to mind the massive pinball action and pileups that we see here occasionally in the S's. Once that chain reaction starts, there's such low visibility and high speed through there. It kind of turns into a yard sale, and I've been in a couple of those, so hopefully these guys can get through that in one piece. And you mentioned the exit of the bus stop. Another kind of interesting part of this track for the Radicals, as you observed, they are not crazy about hitting those curbs, but you kind of have to take on that curb entering the bus stop head on. And last time we were here, one of our better drivers, James Berry, shared with us that he actually drives in the grass. He uses the gap between the curbing and the wall there on the entry to the bus stop, which is a huge risk to take lap after lap. So it is going to be this is going to be a thriller. This track never disappoints. And look at Andre Castro throwing down the gauntlet on 139.645. Paki Caruso, who had a heroic effort last week at Donington, is just 500ths off of him, but it'll be Castro next to Caruso. Behind them, Friedrich next to Braun. Barry and Mika Hulkinen there in row 3. Franco Sanchez and Kjetil Larsen in 7 and 8. Jorge Gonzaga and Sauli Reitinen in 9 and 10. Dennis Karakopoulos next to Chris Betts in 11 and 12. Then it's Miguel Fonseca next to Tom Mueller. Bjorklund next to Jacob Goebbels in 15 and 16. The next row, Gordon Hauge, Florian Dulnig, Menno de Graaf, and Juan Perez will be in 19 and 20. And taking up the rear there, Matthew Liang and Samuel Irbarito. And a couple new names there on the grid. Watkins Glen, one of those tracks that draws drivers from other disciplines just because they enjoy the track. So there may be a few high-rated drivers out here without a lot of experience in the Radical, and that can certainly lead to interesting situations as well. So we're watching the grid there. That is Castro there on the left of your screen with a slight lead over Caruso. So Castro will have the inside entry into turn 1 for the first time, and then we'll wind our way up the S's, and we'll all cross our fingers that Aaron did not jinx us and lead to a big pile up there, lap 1, going up the hill in the S's. So as we're waiting here, a couple cars, Franco Sanchez still not joining the grid. iRacing is going to force the green here in about 15 seconds if Sanchez does not show up. So we will wait here with you. There's a beautiful overhead shot from Josh of the Watkins Glen facility, and we are locked, loaded. There are the lights ticking down. Watch Castro there on your left. See if he gets a good start, and we are away. And pretty clean start overall. Caruso has jumped Castro a little bit there. We'll see if he can make something out of an outside move there into turn 1. And Castro holding him off so far, and he will have the better line entering the S's, but they are still side by side. And so far, so good up the S's. Caruso and Castro still side by side. They went all the way up the hill side by side. And here we are with Friedrich taking a peek. And last time we were here, we saw Heinz Braun, I think it was, or Reitinen, stuff it down the middle in a similar position there. He backs out of it, and they go to single file in the bus stop. And no smoke, no body parts. And Aaron, we have gotten a clean start here at Watkins Glen.
Oh, I don't know. That was extremely close there. You nearly jinxed it, but somehow we managed to get away with it. I think there was one car that did go over and under into the bus stop, but I think they managed to keep it in a straight line. So yeah, fairly well done to our 22 car grid as they all now head into the second part of the lap. And not too many overtaking opportunities in this middle part of the lap. You just kind of have to follow everyone. And I think this was the car that I saw heading off into the bus stop, and a little bit deep, and did go over the grass there a little bit. There was a car on the left that you saw that went over, but no one spun. Everyone kept their tires clean. Everyone's got their body parts, like you said, and single file from everyone. Very, very clean. A lot cleaner than I was expecting, I must be honest. As there's Castro using all of the track limits. Track limits seem to be a very popular topic here at Watkins Glen. No matter what series you watch or wherever you go, it's always a hot topic. And even on iRacing, the off tracks here are very punishing if you are not careful, as Castro's goal now is just to run away with it. As down the inside goes one of the number 16 there. That's Chris Wetz on Karakopoulos, who nearly became victim to the classic turn 1 bottle job. And yeah, still clean from everyone. Very well done. And the slipstream effect now on lap 2 all the way down to the bus stop. But Castro doing a very good job. Oh, that's a car in the background fighting with Reitinen, who nearly got pushed off. That was Gonzaga, I think, as all were heading nearly side by side into the bus stop. Bjorklund getting away there, as Fonseca, I think, was the driver who managed to get away without contact. And they're all just... this is a free-for-all at the moment. They're all scraping, very scrappy from everyone, trying to keep these positions, but somehow everyone's still in a straight line, and I don't know how that's happened.
Yeah, fantastic stuff so far from this field. This is the top split, fairly high strength of field here. As you see Fonseca there, who's a couple of overly optimistic entries, I must say, into the bus stop. We had a replay of one on the last lap that was kind of a dive, really had no chance of making the second part of the bus stop. But these drivers, all 22 of them, have done an excellent job avoiding the effects of some pretty big efforts on our part to lay down the commentator's curse. So far, so good. And here we are riding along with Bjorklund now, entering that going side by side through that entry to the bus stop. Gets a little wiggle there, gets a quick opposite lock and catches that. That was a replay, actually, of a little contested entry to the bus stop, and we are going to see a lot of those in these 16 laps. You get such a huge slipstream coming up the hill here out of the S's, and so it's when you reach the end of the straightaway entering that bus stop, the front driver has to decide whether to leave the inside open or cover, and then the following driver has to decide whether to attempt that move around the outside, which is doable. So the bus stop does kind of break up the flowing character of the track somewhat, and some people complain about that, but it certainly provides us some entertaining driving.
It requires a lot of practice going through there, as there's we were saying yesterday, there is only one line through that corner, and if you get it ever so slightly wrong, you're either going to be going about 30 or 20 miles an hour slower, or you're going to be in a wall. There's no ifs or buts about it. It's a very, very tricky corner to get right, but you have to follow the specific line in whatever car you choose. And Caruso, unsurprisingly, is really struggling to pull away from Castro, as they seemed fairly matched in qualifying. I wouldn't expect one to pull away massively from the other, but Castro seems to be putting a lot more pressure on Caruso than Caruso was on Castro. So maybe Castro at this track, it's one of many home tracks that he's going to be visiting over the next few weeks. He seems to have a bit of an upper hand, as it's kind of allowing Braun, Friedrich and Barry all to be involved in this fight, as Caruso seems to be just struggling a tad bit for pace up at the front, but I don't blame him. He's got about 5 or 6 cars in his rearview mirror eyeing up the exact same position, and it can get very, very scrappy here at Watkins Glen, and hopefully we will see some of that, as it's massively entertaining as we head down to the bus stop once again. Is Castro going to go for this move on the lead? It looks like he is round the outside. Is Caruso going to choose to fight it or just let him go? He's going to try and fight it. That's a desperate lunge, and it puts Castro offline. Everyone has to check up, and Friedrich got a bit of a tap from his teammate there. But actually, that could have been a bit of a strategic move from Caruso. He's gained a bit of time. Is it going to be enough now to be able to pull away from the guys behind? But I don't think Castro was expecting Caruso to fight that one, and it put him off a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And Caruso completely committed and slamming the door here as you watch Castro having to back out. We're riding with Barry. He had to check up behind Sanchez, it looks like there, and the car's behind him checking up. So Caruso very aggressive there, slamming the door on Castro, and he knows that Castro is one of the faster drivers here, and can't let him really have a chance, and didn't want to go through the second part of the bus stop with him side by side, made him back out. So Caruso now throwing down the gauntlet, and I gotta say, I think I missed that lead change. Of course, Castro started the lead lap off pole and leading, and Caruso getting by him there somehow. And here we are riding with Caruso, and we may get to see this door slamming maneuver here into the bus stop. They're side by side on entry, and Caruso says no. Side by side is over, and the cars behind doing a good job staying out of the back of Castro.
Oh, I imagine Castro will have something to say about that. He's a bit too far back to go for it on this lap, but at least on lap 6 he should be close enough, or maybe later on this lap he could be close enough. As yeah, that's what I mean. Up ahead, Sanchez getting ever so slightly offline, and you can see Barry just gaining on him there. Sanchez seems to be struggling over those curbs, and well, luckily it's a fixed setup every single week that we do this series, so no differing in setups. Everyone has to run the same car setup, whether that be a good or bad thing. As we saw at Portimao, I think it was a few weeks ago, the car was very oversteery, and a good thing we're not doing that today, is I don't think we survive the next 11 laps, as an oversteery car at Watkins Glen is not what you want in any way, shape, or form. But Caruso just looking a bit twitchy there, under braking, and I really think he is struggling for pace compared to what Castro was doing in those opening few laps. But you kind of get the feeling that if Castro gets back in the lead, it's going to be a bit of a challenge for everyone to actually compete with him. I think Watkins Glen is too powerful for the slipstream that he'll just pull away, but it will be a lot more difficult than Caruso's making it seem right now. He's just been a bit twitchy under braking. I don't know if that's on purpose. I can imagine not, but just struggling a bit. And Castro gaining a lot of it, and is only a 10th behind at the start of the straight, which actually is not what you want. This could allow Friedrich right into this, and we're going to keep an eye on that number 1 car as we ride on board with Caruso. Look at Friedrich. Is he going to maybe jump into this into this fight? Chooses not to, smartly. Still got a long way to go in this race, another 10 laps. And Castro, again, just wasn't able to get past. And I think you'll agree with me on this, JR. He was too close at the start of that straight.
Yeah, I think he was, and I think he may be biding his time. Like I said, that pass on the outside entry into the bus stop is doable. We've seen it happen, but Castro hasn't yet held his breath and stuck it in there. He keeps backing out of that one and allowing Caruso to slam the door on him. So I will imagine that by the time this one is over, we're going to see Castro stick that one in there. Damn the torpedoes. But boy, this field is pretty amazing, Aaron. This high split, I'm going to say the top, a dozen cars or so are only separated by about 12 seconds. Part of that, of course, is the slipstream, but part of it is just the competitiveness of these radical fields and the high level of driving that you get. And we're riding along now with Tom Euler. He's sitting in P16, lost a couple of positions so far, but certainly within striking distance. Looking forward to Bjorklund, a pretty tight gap there. He's got about 0.3 of a second, and if we stay with him here for a second, once we head up the hill and get through the S's, you'll really see the slipstream come to work. And Euler, my goodness, he reels him in there under braking and almost gets a little smooch there. My goodness, I think Euler wants Bjorklund out of his way at this point, and we are definitely going to see something happen here, if not maybe a little bump drafting. And here we come out of the S's onto that straight, and watch that slipstream go to work. And Bjorklund says, I'll take a hard pass on any more messing with you, after getting tapped from behind on the entry to turn 1. So Bjorklund just lets him go.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think Bjorklund was beginning to be terrified towards the end of that, as he was being hounded by Euler constantly. And now it's time for Bjorklund's teammate, Gordon Haug, to be hounded by Euler. That one was a lot easier, though. Right up the inside, and into 15th place goes Tom Euler, making up some progression after having a bit of a poor start earlier on in this race. But yeah, like you said, it's very, very close at the moment. But that's kind of what you get here at Watkins Glen. You can't really pull away from anyone unless there's a mistake or a bit of a check up from one of the cars. You can't pull away. You have to be seconds faster than someone to be able to do that here. And well, in a series like this, where the entire field in qualifying, I think, was separated by about 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds, that's not going to happen. So it's all about just staying clean in this race. And unfortunately, if you get caught up in a pack where the front driver makes a mistake, you will not be able to catch up to the cars ahead. And that's kind of what we're seeing at the moment from Larson to Barry, because I believe there was a bit of a check-up from Larson. He's 1.5 seconds behind, and the cars in front are just pulling away in their own little spots, as Castro got a bit close for comfort there with Friedrich, and no one seems to be putting the pressure on Caruso this time around. And I must admit, Caruso's keeping a hold of the lead a lot longer than I thought he would have. I thought it would have been trading places every lap at this point, but I think he's held on to that first place since about lap 2. So, I mean, maybe his luck could swing this time round, as Barry briefly looking up the inside of Sanchez, but was definitely not close enough there.
Yeah, Caruso definitely putting down some great defense, and not only defense, Aaron, he's putting down some pace. he's up front without the benefit of the slipstream. His best lap is showing on my end here as a 1:39.67. There's only one driver quicker than that, and that is Friedrich, who, of course, gets a tow up that back straightaway on every lap. So Caruso is putting down some hot laps here. Oh, and watch Barry sticking into turn 9. That's a great passing opportunity. It does take some stones to make that happen, but he can't make it stick. Oh, my goodness. I thought he had that one. And turn 9, again, so tough as the boot rejoins the old part of the track. It goes from uphill to flat pretty abruptly there. Car gets light, and you have to be very cautious putting the power down. Barry looked like he had made that happen, but unable to close the deal, maybe lost traction coming back onto the old part of the course.
Yeah, it's all getting very, very hairy as we enter the halfway stage in this race. And honestly, could anyone in the top 6 could catch up to these guys and take the lead if something goes catastrophically wrong? As Castro and Friedrich thinking about it, Castro might have just taken the lead there. I think so. As yeah, he did. As Castro went up the inside, around the outside, my apologies, and then just swooped around it. I don't think Caruso was expecting him to do that. And Friedrich very nearly made it 3 wide. But, I mean, 3 wide into the bus stop, you're just asking to be out of the race. So I'm glad he chose not to do that. We can see a replay of his thought process. This is on board with Castro. Caruso defending the inside, which is what you want to do. And then look at Friedrich briefly thinking about it. And round the outside goes Castro. And Caruso on the outside fell into those marbles offline and just no grip out there. And fell down into second. So what's it going to be now? Is there going to be any more trading places? I imagine so. As this is James Barry fighting a bit of contact there with Sanchez. Round the outside goes James Barry. Now turns into the inside for this last corner. He should have that position now. But crucially has dropped off the back of these guys, and it's 1.2 seconds now. So they've kind of fallen back a bit silly from these guys, if I must be honest. And that could pretty much be their chances of getting onto the podium or even the win over, as that gap is going to be super difficult to get back on now, as Caruso really struggling out of turn 1 there. He's under all sorts of pressure from Friedrich, and it could be a switch of positions for second place, as Barry still trying to overtake Sanchez, and Friedrich has now pulled alongside. How aggressive is he going to be? Not very. I think Friedrich this race seems to be very, very cautious and very aware of what can happen here at Watkins Glen. And I think Braun is as well. He's just sitting in 4th place, not really doing much, and just letting all of these guys fight, go to battle, and hopefully he can pick some places up if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, 2 right. And my goodness, what a fight between Barry and Sanchez. Sanchez just giving Barry fits. There were a couple of moves there where it looked like Barry had the move done. And then once he got side by side on the straightaway, it looked like he was pulling an anchor and couldn't make the pass stick after setting it up beautifully. And now looking at it now, it looks like Barry has gotten ahead. So he's moved back up into his qualifying position of P5. And up front again, it's Castro from Caruso, from Friedrich, from Braun, from Barry. That's your top 5. And then Sanchez, Larson, Gonzaga, Wrighton, and Mika Hulkinen will round out the top 10. And again, my goodness, this field so tightly packed together. I think all those cars I just read off have got to be packed together 10 seconds or less of an interval. And here is looking at Barry there, the number 3 car, and a little smooch there coming around turn 10, still side by side. And I think this is what we saw before. Yeah, and this is where Barry drops down the anchor. Sanchez gets back by him, and then what's going to happen? He gets the lead here somehow. So we're entering turn 1 here, and yeah, we'll stay with this just for a second. Barry looked like he had the move done, then lost it. And still riding along with Barry on this replay, looking forward at Sanchez. Looks like Barry is going to test that outside entry into the bus stop. And that is Larson sniffing around behind. Oh, yeah. And Barry with such a superior exit there out of turn 1. Sanchez just gave up on that one. So Barry has finally pushed his way through. But some outstanding battling between those 2 cars.
And you probably can tell that that Barry and Sanchez battle will continue on over the next few laps as Friedrich's under a bit of pressure from Braun as well. As, by the way, Caruso has gotten back into the lead on this lap. Seems like he very much favours track position over anything. And I'm not sure. I mean, to be fair, it did work for him in those opening, 9 laps. So perhaps he knows something I don't. But honestly, Caruso kind of needs to get an awful exit coming out of turn 1 on purpose. So he backs himself into Castro so he doesn't get a huge slingshot and just drives past him. And maybe he is thinking the same and purposely taking a bit of a terrible entry into turn 1 and then just blasting out of it. And this is how he got past on that previous lap. It's probably going to be similar to what we've seen a few times in this race, around the outsides into the bus stop. Very aggressive there. And you saw Friedrich trying to get involved as well, but then got kind of pushed out and nearly backed into Heinz Braun, but just about managed to keep a hold of 3rd place. As we go into the bus stop a little bit further back, that was Ryson, there still defending from Gonzaga. He's been doing that literally this entire race and still holding on to 8th place. He's doing a solid job there of that. As Fonseca making steady progress after his lap 1 little kerfuffle at the chicane, as he's gained, I think, about 4 or 5 places since then. So fair play to the Mexican. He's possibly looking at the few cars in front of him and potentially an 8th place.
Yeah, really a fantastic show these guys are putting on today. Have avoided some of the classic pitfalls of driving Watkins Glen that Aaron went through earlier, and really showing their stuff, showing their car control, showing the trust that they have with their fellow drivers when they do things like test a 3-wide entry into the bus stop. And that's the quality of driving that we see here on the Radical Esports Cup week after week. And we're about to tick into lap 13 here, and it is still Castro from Crusoe, from Friedrich, from Barry, from Braun, and Barry has made another position. Barry got past Braun somehow on that last lap, and that one got by me somehow as well. I suspect the bus stop may have been involved, but Barry was trying that move out of turn 9 in the boot too. So Barry's got a pretty good repertoire of making moves here, and has finally moved himself up out of his qualifying position, and another potential 3-wide. Oh my goodness! And as Caruso holding off Friedrich now. Now I'm showing Friedrich has gotten past Castro. So Castro's day here on his home track in New York not unfolding the way he was expecting at all.
No, it's not. And I'm a bit surprised because he looks the quickest out of those front 3, but just wrong place, wrong time, I think, for Castro, and is getting himself caught out. And that's the game you play here at Watkins Glen. It's a lot more strategic than you'd think. And here it is once again, as Friedrich and co all go 3 wide. And very smart thinking there from Castro, to be fair, as he thought, yeah, I'm not doing this. As that was extremely close for Heinz Braun and James Barry. We've seen so many contacts through there today, and all of them somehow have come away very, very clean. I think iRacing's being very forgiving today with the contact and the net code. So all of these guys should be very thankful that we're all getting clean-ish racing and a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, door-to-doors. I quite like that. These cars aren't exactly built for it, but hey ho, may as well try it out. As Braun somehow managed to keep a hold of that 4th place. Caruso with another fastest lap, a 39.4. Very, very quick. I think that's the quickest lap we've seen all day from any driver, including qualifying. So hats off to Caruso. But unfortunately here at Watkins Glen, that's not going to be enough, as Friedrich now with the opportunity to take what he thinks is rightfully his, the number 1 car, going for the number 1 spot in the race. Is he going to be aggressive enough? He's not, and has to back out of that one. Only a few laps left to go in this race, not long and not many opportunities to gain those final few places. And of course, don't forget about Castro. What is he going to do?
Yeah, my goodness, Caruso absolutely owning that first left-hander in the bus stop. He is not giving anything there, and if you don't have significant overlap there, he's going to slam the door in your face, and we've seen him do it time and time again. He did it to Castro a number of times. You just saw him do it to Friedrich there, and Caruso really showing some pace. Oh my goodness. And that was Castro. I think we're in the that was in the heel of the boot there. Tries to pull a little dive bomb on Friedrich, and you saw kind of overcooked and washed out. He managed to keep it on the track, but and might have given Friedrich a fright, but not able to make anything happen. And here's a replay. Here's Castro. We're approaching the heel here, and Friedrich fakes to the inside, moves back left, and Castro says to hell with it, I'm going for it. And you see the result there, and Castro frankly lucky to keep it on the track and to keep Heinz Braun out of his back pocket, because Braun's been sniffing around back there for the entirety of this thing. That whole front line of cars being stuck together by barely over a couple of seconds.
I think this will probably go down to the last lap, as because of that previous lap, they've all kind of spread out a bit. But Barry and Braun, they don't care. They're still going to go wheel to wheel, as Braun and Larson going wheel to wheel as well. And I am still shocked that no one has actually made proper contact through there. They keep going side by side almost every lap through there, and they're all being very, very clean. Just honestly, amazing job to pretty much every single person in this field. And it's just something that you love to see, drivers putting in the work, putting in the practice, and racing hard but fair, and resulting in some very entertaining, very close racing that, like I said, is going to go down all the way until the final lap. And that's exactly what we want, as Hulkinen and Kakapolis still fighting in the middle sector, as Hulkinen just about managing to hold on to that 10th place spot. And that's an interesting interpretation of the track limits there, Paki Caruso, but I think that's legal in iRacing. I don't think he'll got an off track for that. And actually, it's probably a smart idea to use up all your off tracks on this last tour of Watkins Glen, because, I mean, what have you got to lose? I don't imagine many drivers in this lobby care about their safety rating. As here we go then, the white flag for the last time, the 16th time in this race, is absolutely flown by. Who's it going to be between our top three? Is it going to be Caruso, the man who's been on the rise over the past few races? Is it going to be Friedrich or Castro? Very two experienced drivers, and Castro especially at one of his home tracks that we're going to be visiting here on Apex Racing TV over the next few weeks. Here we go then. Friedrich going for that #1 spot again. Is Castro going to be able to do anything? Are we about to go 3 wide into the chicane? Nearly thought about it, was Castro. And a spin there for Friedrich and Caruso as they smashed into the barriers. And that's what we were hoping and praying wouldn't happen. And it has happened on this final lap. It was just inevitable. A few other cars there going a bit wide, but Castro there faking towards the inside, and it caused the two drivers ahead of him to freak out. And Castro has romped away laughing like the Joker, and Friedrich has paid the biggest price of all. Oh my God, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, I kind of sensed something was going to happen there, Aaron. The red mist was building. It was the last lap, and Caruso there, if I was stewarding this race, I would definitely call that abrupt move to the right, entering the bus stop, a block in reaction to the car behind, threw them both offline, and you saw the result. They could not make the entry cleanly, and Biff, it was over. And there's Barry hip-checking Braun as they're fighting for the last step on the podium, having ejected two cars, and it's going to come down to the line. Ooh, and just a couple of ticks there. Looks like Braun is going to pull a P2 out of that. Barry did his best to make something happen there, unable to close the deal, but Barry ending up on the podium, taking advantage of the my goodness disaster between Friedrich and Caruso there. And folks, we will have a couple views of that as the cars come across the line, but we managed to stay so clean and respectful throughout the entire race. But lap 16, it just became too much, and you saw the result. Yikes.
Yeah, I think I will agree with you there on what happened with Caruso. That's entirely on the Italian there. And you put it perfectly. He genuinely, you saw, he reacted to what Castro was doing and blocked him. I mean, admittedly, would have been a bit of a silly move from Castro, but then it would have been Castro's fault. So, yeah, it was a slight jerk to the right for Caruso, who then puts him offline, bounces his way over the entry curb, and smashes straight into Friedrich, who was an innocent bystander in all that. Castro probably was angry at the time and then drove away laughing. Like, you know, he was annoyed that the driver he was fighting for blocked him, and then instant karma. But Friedrich is the one who's probably going to be the most annoyed in all of this, as he did nothing wrong. His entry to that corner did look a bit slow, but well, he isn't the one responsible for the incident at all. And there might be some interesting words after the race, aren't there?
Yeah, without a doubt. And that would have been, you're right, that would have been a fantastic moment to have a webcam on Castro to see his reaction to seeing those cars blowing up and spitting body panels out in the bus stop on the last lap, putting him into P1. And, you know, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And not that Castro isn't good. He's one of the fastest drivers on this grid, but unable to make it really happen. Couldn't withstand the attacks from Caruso or Friedrich ultimately, but those two took each other out. Castro is going to get the P1, and he stopped by to chat with us last week, and maybe he'll come by and join us here in the booth this afternoon as well. But we are going to have those final results for you. Aaron's going to have those for you in just one moment.
Well, just going through the chat in iRacing, just because I was curious. Yeah, Caruso seems to think that Castro was at fault for that incident. He put WTF Castro. Caruso, you might want to look at the replay, and then you might see what actually happened. But yeah, the Italian clearly not taking responsibility for that accident. No word at the moment from Castro, and maybe if he comes in the booth, we can have a chat and ask about him, what he thinks of it. But after 16 laps of pure racing here at Watkins Glen, it's Castro who does end up winning, who admittedly I didn't think would happen on that last lap, but he did. At his home race, many of them in this season of iRacing, but 3.5 seconds ahead of Heinz Braun, who just about finished in second, ahead of Barry and Larson, all three of them going over the line practically side by side. Larson was about 5 seconds behind. Gonzaga was about 5 seconds behind in fifth. And then I think it was Ryton, Fonseca, Sanchez, who all went three wide over the line again for 6th, 7th, and 8th. And Ryton, by 0.02 of a second, finished in 6th ahead of Fonseca, who, by the way, the Mexican driver had an amazing comeback. I think he was down in 15th at one point, so very, very well done, albeit helped on that last lap. But anyway, the rest of the grid then from 9th downwards, Chris Wetz in said 9th place, Mika Hulkinen finished in 10th ahead of Kiriakopoulos in 11th, Tom Euler in 12th, Gordon Haug in 13th, Bjorklund 14th, Gobel in 15th, Perez in 16th, Graf in 17th, Matthew Lung in 18th place, and then your final few drivers in 19th place is Samuel Hiberto, 20th place was Friedrich, 21st was Caruso, and then Florian Dolnig was in last. I'm not sure what happened to him. Don't know if that was a connection issue or what, but he left on lap 3.
All right, and that is going to cover the race right now. Looks like we do have James Berry waiting, and we also have a fantastic promo for you. The Radical Sim Racing League is going to be having its World Finals 1 week from Sunday, and they provided a pretty nice promo reel for us for that. And Josh, you can let me know when you want to spin that. Do you want to spin it and then have James, or go ahead and speak to James first? All right, copy that. And Josh in my ear tells me to go ahead and bring in James Berry. And James, with a P3 today, I'm not sure if you were in position to see what unfolded in front of you. And I'm kind of curious what kind of salty language might have been occurring after Friedrich and Caruso came together there in the bus stop. But how did that race go for you? It looked like you were really struggling with Sanchez before you finally got by him.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of like a NASCAR race. I don't do much I don't do any ovals, but in terms of like getting, everyone's in a slipstream, so it's like just a slipstream train, and you have to try and jump the guy in front of you somehow, even though he's got a huge draft as well. And unfortunately, Sanchez got past me when I was trying to pass Andreas, and then he kept making little mistakes, Franco did, so I tried to get him back, got back past him. I kind of took him out at some point. Yeah, that was a bit awkward. I don't know if there was any netcode involved or anything. But yeah, then just trying to get back with the leading pack, and then there was that instant at the end. I just want to comment on that, because I don't know if you will have seen it in the broadcast. It looked like a huge error from Packy, but on second viewing, clearly what happened, Andre decided to bump draft him at the 400 meter board, and then that sent Packy, probably completely disorientated him through the chicane. And I think that's what triggered that instant at the end, just from a neutral perspective.
Yeah, we'll spin that up again, and I was wondering if Caruso didn't have a little tap from Castro, but I was discussing my limited stewarding experience, and it kind of looked to me that Caruso was blocking and reacting to the car behind on the entry to the bus stop, and he may have brought that contact from the rear on himself by moving kind of abruptly in the braking zone. But reasonable minds will differ on that. And to the cautious driver go the spoils. You almost got a P2 out of that, missed it by a couple of feet there, fighting Braun across the line. So fantastic race today, and I know you go back and view the broadcast, and I hope you will enjoy this one. It was outstanding driving up and down the field. But as we look forward to next week, I have had a gold star next to VIR since the schedule came out. Really looking forward to putting down some laps out there and watching the race on Friday. So what are your thoughts about going to Virginia for next week's race?
It's a strange one. I remember we went there maybe 3-4 seasons ago last time, and there wasn't much participation considering it was a free track. It's a very tricky track compared to something like Watkins, which is really quite easy to drive, to be honest, apart from the bus stop. So I don't know what the competition will be like, but whoever comes up, it's a fun track to drive, so I think it'll be good. Yeah.
All right. Well, James, thank you as always. We love hearing from you here in the booth and hearing your insights on the race. So as we wrap up, is there anyone you would like to thank or give a shout out to today?
Yeah, firstly, shout out Andreas, who got robbed after he took the lead there at the end. And also to our teammate Myron Yanni, whose birthday is today. So shout out to him.
All right. Well, and we'll join you in that. Frequent flyer Myron Yanni, happy birthday from the Apex Racing TV crew here. And okay, James, well, we will see you next week, and have fun at practicing it for VIR, and we'll catch you next Friday.
Yeah, cheers. See you guys. Bye.
All right. Very good. All right. And Aaron, it looks like Andre Castro is here. So maybe you can get his perspective on the stop kerfuffle that are on the last lap.
Well, hello, Castro. You already know what we're going to ask you today, and I'm just going to get right into it. You had a great race, whatever. You won, expected, but that last lap, Caruso seems to think it was on you. Give us your thoughts, straight up. Just tell him.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good race up until that point. Yeah, it was fun. Couldn't really get away from anyone with the draft, and just had to kind of play the chess game, and I tried not to lose the top two, and then I ended up back in third, so not the ideal position. I think top two is where you wanted to be, but yeah, no, I mean, it looks to me like he just blocked really late and had time to slow it down, and then throttled up and took out Andreas. So yeah, I don't know why he really did that. I think he probably saw the wind slipping away from the compromised angle that he had when he blocked me. As soon as he blocked me, I backed off as soon as possible, and there was a small 0x, but I didn't really push him forward at all. So yeah, it was fun. I'm definitely lucky that he decided to take himself out and take Andreas out. But yeah, I don't know. Otherwise, I probably would have had to settle for third. But yeah, it would have been top three would have been good for the championship. So, but the win's even better. So I'll take it. Never like to end the race that way, obviously. But didn't feel like I did anything wrong there.
Well, I know commentators are meant to be impartial and neutral and everything, but I don't care. I'm with you, and I think all three of us are as well. It was simple in the rule books. He reacted to your move, and you're not allowed to do that. So yeah, I completely agree. And maybe he needs to calm down before he looks at the situation. But anyway, apart from that, and you managed to get the win, so obviously good result for you. Just going into the next few races, we've got VIR, Road America, and Sebring. And then ending it off with Interlagos. So how are you feeling for those final 4 races of the season?
I have no idea, to be honest. Hopefully, we can have some. I think the tracks will be a little bit less drafty, which will be nice. Get some separation again, like last couple weeks. And yeah, just gonna do the best I can and try to, race everyone the way I want to be raced and things like that. And yeah, it feels like. Yeah, I don't know. We'll just see. I think the championship is looking pretty good. So if I can keep qualifying up front and keep the pace, hopefully at some less drafty tracks, hopefully we can keep the lead and get the championship. But either way, yeah, just want to have fun and have some good battles. So if we can do that, that'll be a success. And it's been fun this season so far. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, so have we. It's been amazing to watch all of you guys go wheel to wheel, and hopefully that will continue all the way until the end of the season. And, well, thank you for coming and having a brief chat with us, Andrea. Always a pleasure. And before we let you go, anyone you want to give a mention or shout out to?
Gotta thank Colin Brown, my spotter. Chris Wett's teammate got P9, so it was a good result for the boys. And thanks to Apex Racing TV again. Thanks to you guys for being... looking. I don't know. I mean, obviously you guys are impartial, so I appreciate the view on the wreck. I mean, it is what it is. I understand if he's upset. It was just racing hard at the end, but yeah, thanks to everyone, and we'll be back next week, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, and maybe we can end it a lot cleaner this time round. But good luck for next week, and congrats on the win.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, that was our winner, Andre Castro. And since he mentioned the standings, let me just run through the top 10 with you really quickly. Right now, currently on the season, it is James Barry, Braun, Caruso, Gonzaga. Andre Castro is sitting in P5. He's about 440 points off of Barry. So if he has his eye on that top spot, he has got his work cut out for him, and we'll monitor that as the season wraps up. That was followed by Reitinen, Friedrich, Bjorklund, Vitorino, and Kettle Larson. So that is your season top 10 here in week 9. And as you can see, a lot of those drivers out here on our televised race here today. So we really do have some of the best radical drivers in the world here competing at our 2100 GMT Friday broadcast. But our Apex Racing TV, not just about the radicals. And as I've been saying, as the weather cools off, the racing heats up, and we have got a busy week coming up on Saturday. The European Sports Car Championship will be at Portimao, and Sunday will start a busy week off strong. Rick Matek Mini-Mites tackle Suzuka, and Thursday's nonstop action includes 3 events: the Evolution Sim Racing GT3 Championship at Fuji, Apex Racing League prototypes at Suzuka, and the DRSCCA series at Circuit of the Americas in Austin. And my goodness, what a fantastic race. I'm so looking forward to VIR. And we want to thank you so much for joining us for today's broadcast of the Radical Esports Cup. And be sure to join us next Friday, again, 2100 GMT, for more Radical action as we head south to Virginia International Raceway. And I am JR Gregory on behalf of myself, my partner Aaron Smith, and our producer Joshua Wilkie, and everyone here at Apex Racing TV. Have a great Friday and an even better weekend. And we are going to send you off with this fantastic promo provided to us by the Apex Racing Series to get us psyched for the final championship, which will take place 1 week from Sunday. Again, thank you so much and have a fantastic weekend.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.